Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Growing Up Alien. Today, I'm going to address sort of, I suppose, the elephant in the room when it comes to a lot of what we're being subjected to. And I think that's a key point is that we're being, drowned out by all of this information, none of which really has any root in not only see even Jesse is adding his 2 cents to this. Um, what I'm trying to say is we're being fed information. That's the key point. We are being fed information. We're not being asked to discuss the information, which we do, obviously, in our small groups that we get together in. But none of that has any impact on where we're headed ultimately. When we look at the communities we are a part of, it's not a very big community. If you look at the billions of people in the world, ultimately, we're still under the thumb of governments and military. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a really small piece of technology that they have and that they could use. I'm also going to just mention again that what these people, our governments and military, have as far as technology is concerned, they're not really using. They're probably only using maybe 5% or 10% of what they actually have. And we're essentially equipped with Stone Age capabilities. So every single piece of material, video, whatever, we're being fed is being done without our consent, without our input, and without our consultation. It's all carried out in secret. And they'll even tell you that, right? Well, we can't tell you, and they'll have a million different excuses. We could spend all day here labeling all in the whys and whatever. Nevertheless, you have a slice of beings on this planet and maybe off this planet, but we're going to talk primarily about the ones here, the other people that are the controllers, your governments, your military, your media spokespeople, and I'm even talking about the media spokespeople who claim that they are on our side. There's no way to validate anything they tell us. And I understand people, well, they have a lot of followers. That means nothing. They're Hitler had a lot of followers too, right? It isn't followers. That's even part of the problem. So what you're seeing is an exploitation of the beings on this planet's very strong innate desire to follow something. And many of those beings have an almost innate desire to give away their power to some being that they would describe as a guru or a leader or a politician or some popular figure that appeals to them. And this is what will be exploited. So I'll give you an example. There's a military veteran, let's say. An older person, an older woman, older man, doesn't really matter. That is the perfect character to suck in followers. Oh, it's everything I like. Oh, the military. My grandfather was in the military. My dad, my mom was in the military. Let's all flag wave together, right? That is all created as a psyop, as actually it's a mind control device. And it very quickly gathers a large amount of followers. It is incredibly devious or incredibly beneficial because you can't tell the difference. And you have people that will talk about discernment and all these things. There is no one who can discern the reality of these individuals. And see, what they're going to do is play off ego. Well, I can discern. I'm an intuitive. I've been a psychic and whatever shaman, for 5,000 years. And I know what I'm hearing and I can tell the difference. I can blah, blah, blah. So they're going to rely on your ego. That's ego. And the powers that be are just laughing at that because they have means and ways in which to override that. But they'll also exploit that. And they can then use these people who ride off of ego to control others, which is what they are doing and which they will do as we move forward. Well, actually, as we are in full swing right now. Everything that we receive, and that's key, the information we are receiving is being fed to us either directly from the cabal or from puppets of the cabal, those that they have either threatened or honeypotted, paid off, or individuals that themselves are cabal. These people are being given the information that they then feed to us. But it's all higher. The key point is whether or not you like the people or not. The key point is that the information is all based upon a hierarchical system. It is top down. It is not sideways. None of us are sitting at cabal tables. None of us are sitting at so-called white hat. This is my problem with the white hats. This is my problem with the alliance. Who are they? Oh, well, I think Trump is like, how would you possibly know that? If you are a regular person right now that's not working deep within the system, and if you are a person working deep within the system, you're not in the public eye. So for the vast, vast majority of people, you are not in the system. You have absolutely no idea what's going on within the system. You would never know the difference between a white hat, a black hat, or what the heck the hat they're wearing. Is there a white hat? Is there a black hat? Or are they wings of the same bird? Who knows? And that's the point. When things are top down, when they are hierarchical, when information is all dictation, when it is all presented over us for us not to question or add input or discuss, but to passively follow, to absorb, to believe. So unless you're literally, physically sitting with these people, you have a zero information. All you have is the information they want you to have. And it's a very easy thing to do to simply corroborate this intel or this psyop that they're feeding you with anecdotal evidence. Because any evidence isn't proof. What? How can I? Wait a minute. What? Any evidence fed to you isn't proof simply because it's evidence crafted. That's the problem. Because they have a story they manufactured behind the scenes that they want you to believe. All they have to do is manufacture evidence. See, here's the story and here's the evidence. See, we're the good guys. I just have a real problem believing anyone, number one, but believing that the good guys would be doing things over our heads. Now, I don't have any proof that they're the good guys or the bad guys or neutral. I just have an analytical process that says to me, if someone's doing stuff behind my back, if someone's doing stuff over me and to me, if someone's preventing me from having any part whatsoever in the conversation, because the people that are running the conversation are these hierarchical, special groups that the average person is never allowed in. To me, that's a red flag. We are not dictating and crafting and planning our future. They are. The only way that your regular people can actually do that is if they come together. And that's not going to happen. It has never happened and it never will happen. Why? Because of ego, because of fear, because of all of these things that have been seeded into the race on this planet. And frankly, same stuff that exists on other planets or on other spaceships. So when this information is set before us, yeah, we can hang out in little groups at coffee shops and chat away, but those conversations are ultimately meaningless because they never reach the hierarchy. And frankly, the hierarchy wouldn't care anyway. And I don't mean this to be pessimistic. I just want people to begin to see things without blinders on. And blinders can be a problem, whether they're, dark sunglasses or all doomed and gloom, or whether your blinders are rose-colored glasses. The only way forward is through. And the way they've controlled this planet is the way they're still controlling this planet by a hierarchical system. And the problem, again, is that none of us have a seat at the table. In fact, we don't even know who we're even talking or dealing with. Oh, I talk to ETs. Are they lying to you? Are they telling you the truth? Are they just pacifying you? How would you know? There's the old trust us, right? I think if you were doing something as simple as buying a car or something as simple as purchasing some little thing, right? And the person who is selling you this thing can't give you a lot of information, and they just say, well, trust me, it's really good. This used car you're looking at right now, it was just driven by a little old lady, and she took care of it all the time, and it's all trust us, right? Then you get it home and no, surprise. That's actually where we are right now. But the trust us is on not only our future and the future of all the beings on this planet. That's just being, used car salesman dealings right now. Yes, the old story, right? Oh, we're taking care of you. Just sit back. These collaborators, all layers of them, from a simple little podcaster to a major diplomat or political group, they're all saying the same thing. Oh, well, we have, you'll be fine. We have custody over you. You know, we're going to take care of you. So I don't care, who you believe in, who you love, who you think is the best thing since sliced bread. The stance, the position is the same. Yeah, but this person says they have evidence. Who's creating the evidence? I could tell you right now, I look outside my window and it's raining. The sun's out. How would you know? How would you know? How many times Have you simply believed someone and then found out later that this person wasn't what you thought they were? And they can craft this in ways and in layers over years. You have a cabal that has been crafting this narrative for decades. Of course, the cabal itself is even older than that. Their technology, their capacity is mind-numbing. Yes, they're not that powerful. But when you have a group, no matter how small, that has extraterrestrial technology, when all you have is Stone Age sticks and stones, and I'm talking about, oh, I got a gun, that's meaningless. Your gun is pretty much useless. That's who we're dealing with. Yeah, but the extraterrestrials will come in and help us. Okay. You're in a realm where no one is providing anything solid. It's all dictatorial. It's all in the realm of the occult. Trust us. We know what to do. We know what you need, and we will deliver what we know you need. We will tell you what you need. We're not ever going to ask you what that is. We're going to tell you what you need, and then we will deliver what you need, piece by piece. You just have to trust us. But none of these groups are asking you, none of them are giving you a voice. This is what people have to understand. Are you talking directly? Are you sitting at the table? Are they listening to you? I would imagine for most of us, the answer is no. What's happening now is that these people, whether they're white hat or black hat or who knows, who knows? You know, it amazes me that people still follow that narrative of there's an alliance. Is there? There may be. There may be. Are they on your side? Just because there's an alliance, what side are they on? Are they operating in their interest, in the overarching interest, or are they operating in your interest? You don't know because they don't talk to us, which kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Or it should. If you're not a part of the conversation, if you're not invited to the party, something as simple as that, let's say you have a, this is the thing I think that surprises me with humanity. They have created religions out of governments and militaries. Now, if you had some friends and Mary, let's just say, is having a birthday, right? You know it's Mary's birthday. Everybody gets invited to Mary's party except you. How would you perceive that? You might say, well, that seems a little fishy, doesn't it? A little sketch why I'm not invited. You're not invited to the party of your life, the shape of where the earth is going. It's a hell of a lot bigger than Mary's birthday party. And yet, you might be a little sus about your friends who didn't invite you to something as simple as a party, but you don't question the powers that aren't inviting you to the table of your future and this planet's future, whether they're on a ship, on another planet, or on this one. You are being fed information, and it never occurs. It occurs to them. they, they don't want you at the table. They don't want you to have a voice. That's the key part. So if they don't want you to have a voice now, if they don't want you to have a voice in where this is going or how it's going to be shaped or what needs to be done, it's highly unlikely that what ultimately will be done will be in your interests. They don't care what your interests are. They are creating those interests. They are assuming that. They are assuming you have these interests. They're not asking you what your interests are. So now they're doing these tests to see what works, how to concisely lead and manipulate large numbers of people. And they're all working really well, by the way. They're probably going to try to incite sectarian division using an explosion of violence, circumstances, events. People will then fall into these, whether they're real or manufactured. It doesn't matter. They're all manufactured. They will get people to herd up into little cliques, which you're seeing happening left and right. For some reason, and this is actually how gangs work, this is how family structures work, this is how mafia type mob systems work. They simply, and all of this neurologic behavior is known. The powers, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, fully understand the neuroscience and the behaviors of the beings on this planet. And they will do anything to hyper tap into your reactions, your instinctual reactions. They will feed your ego. They will feed your doubt. They will feed your compassion. They will feed your hatred. They will play you like a violin. So once they've incited these sectarian events based upon a herd instinct, following a crowd, now you may say, well, I don't do those things. Well, then you're very unique because the majority of people do. And if you've fallen for any of these events that have happened in the past weeks and days, you need to look in the mirror because they've fed off of one of those things I've mentioned and played you like a violin. So once they've successfully, and they will, because every test they've done so far has been successful, they will incite sectarian division, which fuels more polarization. They get people all hyped up. And in fact, they don't even have to do anything because if all you have to do is go on your social media, which is where most people are. This is how the cabal has worked for decades, if not in well, centuries, actually millennia. they, they simply put a seed in the ground and they let the masses flourish. It's how religions were formed. It's a perpetual motion machine, and it's so easy to use. You just allow the masses to mind control themselves, and they do every single time. So once they've set up the soup pot, let's say, and then there's this explosion of violence and polarity, which will happen, they'll then provide the relief. They'll step in, and no one knows. No one understands that they were the ones who created and incited the situation in the first place. That tapped into your herd behavior, and you fell for it. And now they're going to provide the relief. But they're the good guys. Really. They're going to provide the solution, and they've been doing this for decades. They're going to put out the flames, literally sometimes, and they're going to bring in control. And everyone falls for it. I'll give you an example. Immigration. Now, I don't have any interest whatsoever in what's really manipulating people on this planet. Everything's manipulation, but no one understands that. Any government is a step in the wrong direction because all governments, by their very nature, are hierarchical. Yeah, but we get to elect them. It doesn't matter. You're electing a jailer. You're electing someone who's going to make decisions over your head. You will not have a place at the table. But we have a voice. Look at what you have to do to have a voice. You have to create a group. You have to protest. You have to scream. That's not a voice. That's basically setting up a threat situation where you make it so uncomfortable for the leaders you elected to rule you. So all they do, because they have all the power, because humans never stick together, is concede a few things to you. Maybe develop a story that you like. Oh, looks like a lot of people don't like vaccines anymore. All right, let's pretend they're bad. Are they actually trying to fix the system? Or are they creating a story to make you think they're on your side? They will do whatever it takes and say whatever it takes. And it could look 90% or 95%. Wow, I think they're really on my side. Look what they're doing. Look at the laws they're passing. Oh, they're bringing the military into the street because they want to save us. I don't like crime. Crime is bad. They're fixing the crime. That's the narrative that people are buying. How do you know that the military in the street is there because they want to fix the crime? Maybe it's there for something else. How can you know? You're giving your trust to a millennia old system that has never been in your favor. And all they have to do is throw you a cookie. And like any good doggy, right, you sit and take the cookie and assume that it's okay, even though my master hits me or chains me outside. Every once in a while, he throws me a cookie. And this is happening country after country. Everything is half lit. Everything is in the half light. Everything is in the twilight. You're only seeing what they want you to see every single time. And we may say, well, why is the legacy media still up? Well, why does it even matter? They're using social media. They're manipulating that. They've created the internet. They're manipulating the internet. They're feeding you information. So it doesn't really matter where you're getting that information. And so many people, again, like I said, they are feeding off your ego. I never watch the news. I don't believe the news. I only get my information on social media. Who do you think controls that? You think they're that dumb that they're only using mainstream media to feed you information? They're using social media. They're controlling social media. They're controlling operatives of social media. You know that. You even say that. I'm targeted. My channel is targeted. By who? Who's targeting you? They are, because they control it all. So unless you know someone personally, a friend that is actually in a hot zone, whatever you're seeing, and I don't care where it's coming from, TikTok, it's them. Yeah, but the TikTok I follow is this 20-year-old little nice lady, and it's real. She's amazing. Really? Do you know her personally? No, but I like her stuff and I can discern. Okay. So let's pretend we are the black hats or the white hats because it's the just the wings on the same bird. And we want to get a bunch of people in a certain arena. Let's say the border people, right? We need to control immigration and all that stuff. Okay. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but that's our job right now, right? We're operatives, and we need to start to we're going to do something. Um, and we need to convince a lot of people in a certain demographic about getting them to buy into this thing. So we create a figure that we then will put on social media, a figure that will influence this group, right? You can name any demographic. Maybe it's teenage girls, maybe it's teenage boys who like to play basketball, maybe it's middle-aged white collar workers, maybe it's middle-aged black collar workers. What region are they in? Is it in the American South? Is it in Canada? It's a part of Canada. Is it in working class Britain? Is it in a wealthy area in Britain? Right? So whoever it is, we will then craft our figure to tap into that audience. And that's what they do. So take, for example, Three Eye Atlas, which is, the big propaganda machine right now. What say do you have in what this thing is or what it's doing? All you have is blurry conversations. All you have is either sugar-coated tales or bitter-coated pills, muddied waters. It's all in the occult. But it doesn't really matter which side you're on. And they know you're going to be on a side. They know you're going to pick a side because that's what people always do. And once they pick a side, once they pick their clique, they do exactly what the clique wants them to do because they want to be a member of that clique. They want a herd. So it doesn't matter really what you think of Three Eye Atlas or what anybody you like thinks of Three Eye Atlas. The point is, it's going to do or not do whatever, and you're going to have no say in it. That's key, right? Even if this, let's just say you're on the sugar coated. I took the sugar coated pill, right? Three Eye Atlas is a magic spacecraft, let's just say, with magic people in it that want to help the Earth. All right, that's fine. You can believe that. No one's telling anybody what to believe. Well, what say do you have in it? So it's basically doing what it's doing without your consent, without discussing this with you, without you being even able to ask a question. And I mean physically, like a legit question, not an astral question, not a remote view, not a telepath question. I mean literally. What say do you have in it? None. It's going to do whatever it wants, just like the cabal, just like the white hats. They're in the dumbs, cleaning out all the dumbs. Are they? Maybe. They might very well be. Or maybe not. Who knows? We have no, that's, it isn't even that isn't even the point. It would be nice if they were. That'd be great, right? But they aren't giving us anything. All hearsay, 100% hearsay, no evidence whatsoever. So why would you do that? Would you do that to a friend? Would you do that to your family? Keep them in the dark all the time? Keep them guessing? Just want them to believe you? That sounds psychotic to me. How long would you stay with a friend who did that to you? They'd be mentally ill, really, right? You wouldn't, there's something wrong with that person. And yet, you don't seem to have that same feeling with these people. Every single thing is not asking our permission. It's not asking our thoughts. It's not asking our opinions. We are passive receivers, looking at information for those things that vibrate or concur with what they want to believe, what they want us to believe, what we want to believe. It's natural to go towards information that vibrates and concurs with what you want to believe. That's confirmation bias. That's the problem. There's also suggestion. If enough people say the same thing or experience the same thing without any evidence, yes, it can be real, and it can also be suggestion. So, what's real? That's where they want us to be, where you don't know what's real. And they don't want you to have evidence. They don't want you to be in control. They want business as usual. Or they want something a little more intense. And the key is to consider everything you're fed as part of their plan. And takes a bit of bravery sometimes to step back, to look like the bad guy, to look like you lack compassion because you don't fall for the narrative. And everything is a narrative. Everything is a narrative. Because life right now is the same as it was last year, is the same as it was the year before last, is the same as it was 5 years ago, is the same as it was 10 years ago. Yes, you're probably being giving little bits of things. And like I've said, they could feed you 90% of the things they want you to know. But that doesn't mean that the things you're being fed are coming from benevolent arenas. So they are holding back on what they can really do. We are sitting ducks under them. And I don't say that, and you know, to be a doom scroller. I'm just giving you what they have. So we know what the military has. We know what the cabal has. You've seen what they have. I've seen craft. You've seen craft. You've done the research. You've seen the patents. You know what they have, what they're capable of. So if they're interested in doing anything, they will. So I want to show a video. Actually, it was too long for me to load onto my computer, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to just play it from my cell phone, which is why I had my cell phone nearby and making sounds while we're doing this. But yeah, it's an interesting video. Oops, I'm back here. So I'm gonna click off of this and oops, make sure my volume's up. Oops. All right. Okay. This video I shared on my Facebook a while back, but it's actually awesome video showing like basically a type of voice to skull technology, like legit, like on um, or how they can project. Now the way they're doing it in this video is very low level. I mean, this is not the way, but at least you can see how it can look. They've perfected voice to skull mass control quite a while ago. So they are they've already been doing this. Um, and it's very likely that some of the violence you've seen is actually voice to skull. And when they talk to the people that were doing these supposed crimes, the crime created was the crime put over the person. um, it was likely voice to skull because that's what it appears. So when they do voice to skull, it sounds like it's coming from your head. Now they can do this with other frequencies to fully my well, if I just because I'm hearing a voice in my head doesn't mean I should follow that, right? Your average person has no idea about voice to skull. They have no idea. They're not going to pick someone who's suspicious anyway. So they groom people. They do this. Some people they'll groom from childhood. Some people they'll well the childhood grooming can be pretty intense. Um, they can create things like schizophrenia. I have to be careful as YouTube, schizophrenia. They can create different mental illnesses in a person, and then the person takes medication, and then they continue to groom the person. Um, and it's, I'm gonna say, it's them, right? Most people aren't familiar with it. Your average person has no idea about this kind of technology. And they use satellites now and all kinds of things like that. I guess the question would be, why is it still that's the key question, right? So why is voice to skull technology still happening for those watching who are targeted and have been targeted, right? You're still being targeted, right? Why is that still going on? Now, to be fair, some of it is a little complicated because they are using satellites and technology structures that are coming in and out of different dimensions. Um, but ultimately, I question, which is why I quit. This is why Ika quit because there's some questions there, right? Why did the benevolent ETs allow their own groups, their basically mercenary sections that were working here with the Earth governments, right? The Earth militaries. Why did they allow abductions to happen to them? Why was that allowed? There was, as I said, there was actually one of these guys who was with the Canadian military and he was tortured And nothing was ever done of that. It wasn't like, he was tortured and, oh, you shouldn't do that. Don't do it again, blah, blah, right. No, nothing, nothing. Um, again, Eco was repeatedly abducted by the military. They didn't care. All these benevolent ETs that are so wonderful and they want to make you happy and whatever, they don't. Why are they allowing that? And I don't expect them to come down here heavy-handed and be like, oh, but it's something just to say, no, 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 don't do that, right? They didn't know that this was going on. How many ETs were actually abducted by the militaries that they were working in around the world? Who knows? But we do know nothing was done. So that's interesting. That so much was, same thing with the abductions that happened here on this planet. And it's not not like, oh, it was just little things. No, it ended up in people being killed by the millions. It ended up in intergalactic slave trade. It ended up in intergalactic food trade. And you know what the food was, right? They're not vegetarian, right? Um, why was that allowed? Why was that all allowed? That's all of the red flags that pop into my um arena to try to decode. Why are we still being, targeted? I don't know. I don't know. Why are people in the SSP still in the SSP, still going through SSP? Why is that? I don't know. Those are the good guys, right? Solar Warden, the good guys. All right, yeah, they fucked me over years ago, but now they're the good guys, right? Okay. All right. How do I know that? I don't know. Just believe us. Believe, right? Then the new religion, right? The new ET, this is an ET religion, basically. It's a tech religion. It's just baloney, really. So this video here, I wish, it's too bad because your legacy media won't show this, but nobody watches legacy media anyway, right? Except grandma, basically. So it's not a big deal. But this is the kind of technology that your general public doesn't understand, doesn't know exists. And they're going to use, not only are they going to use it, they have used it, they are using it. And they've been using it. This is not new tech. This has been around for a very long time. So I'll play this. If I get this up here. All right. Sound.
It's just so small, it doesn't fit. The 65 kilohertz has a wavelength like that. That's the word for lazy. It comes right out of the beam. Now, how do we make that audible? Well, they put a modulation on top of the 65 kilohertz. There's a modulation. And now, here's the next thing I have to tell you. That 65 kilohertz is very high amplitude. It won't hurt you, we don't think. Certainly can't hear it, and we don't think it'll hurt you. And it's very high amplitude. And what happens when you have two sound waves like this, sound plus sound can create sound, but only a high amplitude. At low amplitude, sound waves just travel right through each other. You may be familiar with this. At high amplitude, you can create sound. And what happens in this apparatus is the audio sound, the sound that you're going to hear, is actually created in the beam, not here. Because it's created in the beam, it stays in the beam, we have a beam effect. Let me demonstrate it for you. Let me turn it on. And I'm going to find the piece of music that we like. Yeah, you may not like it. The Eagles. Eagles. Okay, good. Oh, we're going to find the audio with you. You're just saying it to make us feel better. Right. All right. $1,000. It's not our money. Now, sound that you're hearing is being created in this beam. It almost sounds like it's coming from your head. Let me try to scan the whole audience so everybody gets to hear it. Absolutely remarkable. Are you hearing it?
Oh, there you go. They were surprised. So this the sound, that's how they use the satellites and everything. They ricochet it off things that the beams when they intersect. that's when the sound gets created, and it's when you hear it in your head. They can tailor that to what he actually does it after that. He bounces it off the wall and then only hits certain people. So they were able to initially only use this technology to target one person, but now they can use it to target crowds. So this was some of what they had tried to get out of me. How can they, how were they able to weaponize the ability to mind control? So that's was one of the things they wanted to try. They have successfully weaponized that technology. Um, and that's why I say, they're not doing really anything right now. They're setting off some wildfires and all that stuff. Where they're not doing anywhere near what they can do. They could create a zombie apocalypse, basically. They could do anything like they could do that using mind control. So easy. They're actually showing it right now. Like I said, they're targeting certain people. They've always targeted certain people. They've groomed them, and then they get them to, at some point, enact something. I have to be careful. Like I said, it's YouTube. You know what I'm talking about. So they could do this with a crowd of people, and it's just a matter of time and when. And how much time do we have? I don't know. It's really I don't. This is the thing. Everybody wants to know the future, and you listen to all these people who tell you what they tell you what the future is. Like there's no one can do that. Actually, one of our members, it was good, is like, it's funny, all these remote viewers on these fancy remote viewer shows, they always tell you what they've remote viewed after it's happened. Oh, I saw that. And I like, yeah, wow, that's pretty good. That's a magic trick there. Remote viewing is simply seeing timelines. So it isn't going to tell you any shit. Ain't going to tell you nothing, right? Because you can remote view something like I could tell you right now, well, there's going to be a massive mind control event in this city next week, right? So there probably would have been a massive mind control event in the city next week. But now that I've said it, and they're watching all of us, they listen to everybody, they're not going to do it because I said it. So you basically bumped it. I actually remote viewed a situation live. It was, oh my God, 7 years ago, I guess. This is an interesting story. Just for the story itself is quite interesting. So I was boarding a horse, my horses, the same horses that I show now, I still same horses, at a place in Berlin and here in Massachusetts. And one day going to feed in the morning, and a homeowner comes running out, and she's like, oh my gosh, just hurry up, just hurry up. She says, my neighbor killed somebody. So I was like a sheep show. Like, what? She's like, my neighbor killed somebody and they're looking for him. She says, I don't know where he is. Yeah, her neighbor was a crackpot for a long time. A lot of money, by the way, but total lunatic. So I was like, wow. I'm like, okay, let me hurry up, feed the horses and go. And I had a vision at that time. And this is a rural area, right? So, I'm like, oh, I said, I'm like, I told her, I said, I think he's still here. He's and I'm like scanning. So I scanned the barn, the larger barn area. I'm like, no, he's not there. Because he could be in the hayloft. I'm like, no, he's not there. I'm like, sounds weird, but it's like, you know what? He's in the back of his own property in the woods in a tree with a rifle. That's so weird. So I came on the way home. I saw we were friends with the mail lady, and I stopped and I said, hey, I said, you know what? There's a guy that just killed somebody in Clinton, and he's on the lam, so to speak. And she's like, oh gosh, okay. I said, just so you know. So that's where they found him. They found him. I think was it that day or the next day? I can't remember. It's in the newspaper anyway. Murder in Clinton. It's like 7 years ago. And they did find him behind his house, but he wasn't in the tree with a rifle. He fell out because I think he was doped up on something. So he broke his back. He eventually killed himself in jail. But I was 100%. They found him on the ground under the tree. He was in the tree with a rifle. So there you go. That was kind of a vindication for me at that time. Sometimes and this is the thing when you're doing a live vision, is to not second guess yourself. Because when you second guess yourself, you get it wrong. But when you don't second guess yourself, you get it right. And no matter how strange it sounds, it's legit, so that I got that. So the point of this video isn't to be negative, isn't to make everybody depressed, isn't to be, it's just about seeing reality. It's just about understanding how things work. and sometimes it's hard to comprehend just how nasty the bad guys are. And I was just watching a video last night. It's one of those weirdo ones. I don't I know for some reason I just let me just see what this. It's just out of curiosity to see what they're going to post, and it's all AI and this ET was talking about not this is why I and this is sometimes why I do watch some of these things because I want to get intel. So I watch it with like Sherlock Holmes approach. So they were talking about, and you've probably heard this, that the Earth is a polarity and there's no bad guys and there's no good guys. You got to stop looking at things of the bad guy and the good guy. And once you do that, somehow you'll be this, galactic being. And, because there's no good guys or bad guys off of Earth. Earth is the only place. They always seem to say, they seem to tell us that good guys and bad guys only exist on Earth, and it's and they only exist because you're creating them. As long as you believe and talk in manners in which there's the good guys, there's the bad guys, you're creating that, right? Okay. And once you leave planet Earth, you don't have that anymore. So, well, baloney number one is that the stuff here on Earth that's come into Earth were regressive extraterrestrial groups, and there's been war upstairs for millions of years. So, um, I don't know if this because they're seeing good guys or bad guys, or if everybody's unity consciousness, but it's fun to blow up people's ships and planets and route planets. I don't know. Maybe they just do it for fun. I can't, explain or try to assume what others enjoy doing. But we do know that there's been and is and probably will be a Star Wars upstairs. So I don't understand this concept. Maybe, I always tell them, try to explain it to me like I'm three so that I can understand how war is bad on Earth, but is still wonderful upstairs. So I almost feel like they're trying to fuel a narrative of passiveness because if you don't see good and evil, I don't mean it should be black and white. We all understand because we're not three that these things have gray areas and that you don't have to condemn someone who does evil things. Again, that's a personal choice. Whatever you need to do, in your reality, go ahead. But assuming that bad or darkness or what have you doesn't exist is an interesting opinion. And you can hold that opinion. I'm not saying anyone should or not hold that opinion or not. But then what they were suggesting is that somehow if you don't hold any negative opinions or understandings of bad and good, that if you just hold the light, that this light will spread and basically flash out all of the darkness, which in and of itself is confusing to me because if there's no bad, good or evil, light and dark, then how would there be light in the first place? And how would the light shine over darkness when there's no such thing as darkness? Um, the argument falls flat as far as I'm concerned. In fact, it actually degrades itself in its own argument. So it disproves itself by that very idea that light flashes over darkness. But if there's no darkness, how can light flash over darkness? If there's just light. So that doesn't make any sense. And there isn't just light. And not all darkness is necessarily a negative thing. Some darkness is just neutral, just like light and dark itself, right? You can't see the moon really well until it's shined on because it has to be that chiaroscuro, that contrast. So so let's just say this extraterrestrial who was feeding us this information is really an extraterrestrial. I wouldn't trust him personally. And I wouldn't trust anyone who delivers that information without realizing what they're delivering. So there's a lot of strange things going on purpose or not, I don't know. Um, but it's really important for folks to sit back, remove yourself from any herd conversations, actually remove yourself from anyone else and analyze the situation and start to dig through it and start to try to make sense out of things. And it isn't about liking or not liking somebody. You can pull that out. You don't have to be a bad guy. So when you start analyzing stuff, that doesn't make you a bad person. It just being a nice person doesn't necessarily make you a nice person either. It could put you in real danger and it could put people around you in real danger. When you deny the reality of evil, it's there. It's real. It's upstairs. It's been in your past life, it's in your present life, and it'll be likely in your future life in any physicality. And a lot of this spiritual stuff is not provable. And I never feed anyone stuff, even from where I come from, as anything more than a religion, because I can't prove it. And they can't prove it. So we're constantly fed illusions. In some we enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying them. If you believe there's a source that creates everything, do it, right? How would you prove that? How can you prove there's source? Do you even need to? I don't know. Is everything just a computer program? I don't know. And no one does. You know, um, you can't prove source using physics. You can't, and are we supposed to always prove something using some kind of mathematical equation? I don't know. So part of existence is faith, and part of existence isn't. And there's the blur that they're playing with. And this is what the Cabal is using. The blur, right? And you have people who talk about the AI and the dangerousness of AI. That AI is billions of years old, and it's older than that. So if it wanted to do anything, it would have. That doesn't mean it won't, right? It's like the mosquito that hasn't bit you yet will bit you. Could very well bite you, or could very well not. Mosquitoes have been around for a very long time. Same thing with this AI. It isn't something new. It's always been there. So, how old is old? I don't know. How old is the universe? I don't think it is even calculable in that way. Maybe it wavers through I don't know. I'm just making stuff up, right? We could sit here all day and talk about what the universe is, how old it is, you know, ultimately. So, yeah, enough said, basically. Enough said. So yeah, that's I don't want anyone to, like I said, believe what I say or what I'm showing. It's just, it seems that every time I go through a dark patch, I come out with something, a new, in my mind anyway, revelation that I didn't see before. So going through that oftentimes reveals something for me, in this game. So yeah, we'll see. As always, what is going to unfurl um, by the beings that control us ultimately. And it's, oh, you don't say words like that. It creates it. It doesn't create it. It's already here. I mean, if you want to live in a la la bubble, go ahead. And any concepts that humanity is somehow going to come together, that's a double-edged sword because are we going? So if we force humanity to come together, is it coming together under some kind of benevolent collective, or is it going to come together and under a control collective? So when we hear people talk about there's a desire to create a unified planet, well, that's a great idea, actually, to have a unified planet like some other planets are. We've never had that here on Earth. We're nowhere even close to that. As a matter of fact, most people can't even get along in a grocery store. You're trying to create a unified planet. I don't actually see that happening. That's a personal thing for me. I don't see that occurring on this planet in any time soon. And I'm talking maybe even 100 years or more. We're nowhere near there. So unless there's some magical event that's going to happen, either a catastrophic event that very possibly removes life on this planet, or some kind of higher dimensional being capacity to somehow mass mind control the whole planet of people. That's the only way I see it happening. I only see more division coming because that's what you're seeing, basically. So, I mean, with the beings on this planet, there is something going on with them that where unity is not one of their goals here. And again, that is based upon the structure of this planet, the survival structure of this planet. Now, some dude who talks to ETs for a long time said that, in 2023 that we were supposed to have a new money system. It's 2025. I'm still using the same money system. I don't know about you. And people are in quite a bit of distress financially and generally across the globe. So I don't know what magical money system this was that was supposed to roll out at the end of 2023. Whatever. So oops. Anyway, I don't see any of that. I'm on the street. So if it's there in mirage format, that's great. It can sit there in mirage format, but it isn't doing anything for the people. But I just think that a lot of the negative structures that are still very, very, very much in place um, are continuing, if anything, to create more division, to create more suffering. So I don't know where that's supposed to head to. I don't see it creating any unity. There's unity in suffering, but that creates more lack and more discord, if anything, than this unity thing of love and light and whoever the hell they're talking about. It looks like they're pushing for a new world order. And I know a lot of people, I guess that's the whole point of this is in order for you to see what's actually happening, you have to stop worshiping. You have to stop worshiping social media people. You have to stop worshiping friends and family. You have to stop worshiping politicians. You have to stop worshiping ETs. What are the ETs saying? Who the fuck cares? How do you know they're telling you the fucking truth? Like, I don't trust them. Even if they give me information now, I tell them right. I tell them right to their face, I don't trust you. So you've lied to me before. You've lied to me. You've betrayed me. And I don't mean that in a bitter way or in a resentment way. You left me to die. You lied to me and left me to die. To me, that's a big infringement. And I'm not just going to walk away from someone who's capable. And that's the thing. If you're capable of lying, that may cost somebody not only their happiness, whatever, but their life, that's significant in my opinion. You're capable of that. That's what concerns me. So it's not about forgiveness. I don't believe in those things. I have evidence in front of me that I'm talking to beings that are capable of letting things die based upon a philosophy or whatever. That concerns me. It's sort of like, you're driving on a country road and there's a squirrel in front of you. Now you either have compassion and you say, okay, I can slow down and, make sure I don't hurt this squirrel. Because the squirrel matters to the squirrel and to me and to the rest of the environment. And hurting him is going to be painful for him. I'm going to cause pain on another being. We all feel the same pain. So I don't want to do that if I can avoid it, realistically. But then there's other people who don't even notice that there's a living being there. Most people who run over a squirrel don't even make any attempt. Either because they're in zombie land, they don't actually see anything in front of them, or it just never even occurs to them. So here is a being that other life doesn't even occur. It's not even in my arena of sight. So that's what we're dealing with. I'm not going to make arrangements with beings that don't even comprehend a concept like basic compassion, like basically noting that there are other beings that feel. I don't do business with those kinds of things. And that's just a personal thing. Other people would. But for me, I draw the line with doing business with anyone who has no compassion. And I don't mean the woo-woo compassion. I mean a sustainability of compassion where you make decisions based from it. That's the problem. And I don't think it's really being addressed anywhere, here or up there. Um, but anyway, it doesn't matter, does it? You know, ultimately, whatever we think doesn't matter. And that's a problem too, isn't it? Right? Because we have many of us with thoughts and, you know, um, ideas that we don't matter upstairs or down. So that's the problem with hierarchy. Yeah, here we stand. So as always, I guess we just keep on keeping on and as try to convince them upstairs and because we're not going to convince anybody down here. It's a that's not gonna work. Um, well, like I said, we're ultimately sitting ducks, but we're squawking. So keep quacking. That's all we can do. Anyway, see you upstairs.